Chapter 2. When the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Suddenly, a sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit enabled them.
Now, the reason we were all together is we were having a potluck lunch. We have them all the time. It's just great. And we'd already been there a couple of hours, and I had to excuse myself and go use the facilities. Now, the men's room was downstairs and at the back, but I wasn't gone all that long. And when I come back, the whole room was just in an uproar. The first person I run into was little Tommy. And he says, listen to this, listen to this. And he starts just chirping away. And I said, what is that, Tom? He said, it's Spanish. I said, well, when did you learn to speak Spanish? He said, just now. I said, what do you mean, just now? He said, just now, just this minute. He said, that's nothing. He said, listen to Norm over there. Norm never says two words to nobody. You just listen to him go in that Russian or whatever it is he's speaking. And Tommy says, where were you? I said, I just stepped out down to the men's. He says, so you missed it all? I said, oh, that's a shame. So you missed all of it. And I said, all of what, Tom? And he said, well, there was like a mighty wind that blew through the room. And then there was these tongues of flames come down, settled on all of us, and nobody got burnt. But the next thing you know, we're all speaking these foreign languages. You missed it. It's a shame. I said, it's not right, is what it is. I said, I've been coming to this church as long as you have, Tommy. Nothing like that ever happened before, and I step out for 10 minutes, and I miss everything. That's not even fair. He says, well, it's not my fault. I said, I'm not blaming you, Tom. I'm just saying that it's not right. And then Peter starts organizing everybody. Come on, we're going to go downtown. We're going to share this around. We can't keep this to ourselves. We've got to go downtown. I said, well, I'm not going. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm not going. I said, I stepped out to the men's room for 10 minutes. I miss everything. There's no point in me going downtown. Peter says, now, didn't we all agree that we'd be in this together no matter what? So I said, all right, I'll go then. Could we at least take some pie? And he said, yes, grab some pie, grab whatever you want, let's go downtown. So off we went. Now, you should have seen it. I wish you could have been there. They're standing on the street corners, and they're talking in these languages, and people never heard their native tongue for a long time, so they're just gathering around, and there's groups of like 20, 30, 50 people gathered around, standing there, just with their jaw dropped and their eyes wide open. Except for this one fella, you see. And I notice him, and he's standing kind of back in the shadows of the doorway, back at the pool hall. So I walk over to him and I said, you're not getting involved in any of this? And he says, thank God you're here. And I said, why is that? He says, I thought I was losing my mind. I said, you're the first person in 15 minutes that I can understand even a little bit. I got no idea what they're going on about over there. I said, well, don't worry, it's not you. I said, it's them. See, they got the Holy Spirit on them. That's how they're able to talk in foreign languages like that. And he says, the Holy Spirit, what's that? And I said, oh, well, when Jesus left us, he said that he'd always be with us. And he said that he would send the Holy Spirit to be our helper and our guide. So that's what that's on. And he said, Jesus? He said, you don't mean the one that they did in a little while back? I said, well, they thought that they did him in, yeah. Crucified him, dead as you can get, buried in the tomb, but then you see he was resurrected. And he's sitting at the right hand of God right now, even as we speak. And he said, that's a little hard to get around that, the resurrection. started thinking. I said, I'll tell you, I've been following Jesus for a couple of years, and some of the things that I've seen, they just about make your head explode. Want to hear about a couple of them? And he said, well, maybe I would if I could go someplace where I could hear it all without all this clatter carrying on. So I said, well, why don't we get a coffee and we'll just go someplace. I've got a pie. He said, well, pie be all right, I guess. So we got ourselves a coffee and we went down, sat on a park bench down by the harbor. We just started talking. Just talking about, how things are going with him and how things are going with me. And it turns out we had a lot in common. Then the talk turned to Jesus. And it's funny though, when you start talking about Jesus, most people want to jump right to the big stories. They want to hear about feeding the 5,000 and healing the 10 lepers, walking on water. Now you can't beat that for a story. That's good. But not this fella. He wanted to hear more about the day-to-day stuff of like how a fellow like me or him, for that matter, could follow Jesus and end up leading a life that was worth something. Got a little purpose to it. So we just sat there, talked away the whole afternoon. Now, apparently we missed out on a lot of excitement. They tell me that they baptized 3,000 people that day. I would like to see that, I would like to see just what kind of wave it makes when you're baptizing 3,000 people. It'd be like a little tsunami or something, wouldn't it? Yeah, we missed out on the tongues of fire and all that, but it was a good day. It was a good day. I made myself a good friend. And I think I might have learned something about the Holy Spirit, too. See, maybe the tongues of fire and the speaking foreign languages is not just what the Holy Spirit had planned out for me. Maybe I'm supposed to notice that there's people standing in the shadows in the doorways. And just share a little bit about what it's like to be walking with Jesus. You know what? I'm all right with that. I really am. As long as there's pie once in a while.